Tohoda Rahaba, my heart is thankful to you, Abba. Tohoda Rahaba, my heart is thankful to you.
Well, shalom, shalom, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Israel, My Delight. Comes from Isaiah 62, verse 4. Recommend that you read that chapter. There's a lot of chapters in Isaiah. Actually, I want you to read chapters 1 through 66. Just make it easy.
Sounds like a plan.
You know, it's a great book. I mean, it's kind of like a wow. It's just amazing. And this is where that Israel, My Delight, comes from, and we're excited. There's a lot of great things going on, and I wanted to just bring up some things. One, the weather is breaking. That's a good thing. Last 2 days we had close to 100-degree temperatures. Today was about 95. And the day before was about it was like 4 days in a row: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Actually, I think it's that Sunday or something like that. But it was. I don't know if it was a technical heat wave because you have to be over 90 degrees 3 days in a row. So I don't know if we were there, but I think we're pretty close. Actually, I think it was. I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. But we survived. We are like just not really too much believers in air conditioning. Although this week we might have been converted, but we don't have air conditioning because we have a place here that has a lot of great cross ventilation.
Yes.
And AviGayle loved that about this house when we bought it. And so we have a lot of cross ventilation, and so I mean, technically, we may need an air conditioner like 3 weeks out of the summer, something like that. Anyway, but we didn't come to talk about the weather, but it's interesting what's been going on, and I wanted to talk about that because Yahweh Almighty is King, and He still is King. He will forever be King. No one can take Him off His throne. And there's been a lot of activity going on, a lot of hostility, a lot of things between Israel and Iran, America and Iran, and and all these different things because the world really, in a sense, changed starting June 13th. That's when Israel did a preemptive strike against Iran. Now, leading up to that, I mean, you have the Gaza war that was taking place, the Lebanon war against Hezbollah that was taking place, and those were proxies of Iran. Iran itself did not do a lot of terrorism, if you will. They used their proxies to do that. And they have a lot. And those are just the two that we mentioned that are pretty much significant today. But Al Qaeda. Remember Al Qaeda? I mean, in the day, that was part of Iran also in terms of funding and all that kind of stuff. So, and what actually happened? The conflict took place, but if you even go back to 1979 when there was a lot of turmoil in Iran. There was an uprising from the students at that point, and then the Ayatollah, who was banished before when the Shah of Iran took power, and he was a puppet. I mean, he was not a just ruler, not a he was better than obviously the Ayatollah, but he was not a just ruler in terms of taking the people. It was almost like we watched. We haven't watched it in a long time, but this was a different one too. That but we the Tale of Two Cities. Where the aristocrats are thinking everything revolves around them, and they treat the commoners or the lower class. You have an upper class and a lower class, and the upper class rules over the lower class and pinches them for every tax, every piece of thing that they have, anything they do, and it finally gets to a point where they uprise. They come up and they interesting contrast too. They're just thinking about um, the uprising in France when they that was happening at the same time, roughly that a couple of years in between, but that the American colonies, which we're going to be celebrating our 250th year this coming a year from now, this coming July 4th, one more year. This will be 249 years this time, but going into our 250th. And it's going to be, it's an interesting contrast, the tale of two cities. Now, the tale of two cities was Britain or England and France, but really you could just take it as the tale of two cities of France and America, and what happened during that, and the justice that they put on, and they basically wiped out the king, I think Marie Antoinette was there. I think it was King Louis XIV. I think it was that got besieged and killed and hung, or I think it was the guillotine. That was the weapon of choice or the execution of choice for the citizens, they called themselves, in France. So you look at what happened back in 79. Before 79, with the Shah in power, Israel had an excellent relationship with Iran. They traded, they recognized each other, the whole 9 yards. It was great. Then 1979 happened, and that's when basically a war between Israel and Iran began, and a war against America, Iran against America, because they have been responsible for a lot of the killings that have taken place since that 79, basically 84. I think it was when they were declared a terrorist state during the Reagan administration. So you see these contrasts, you see these open hostilities that come into play. And then June 13th happens. Think of it too. October 7th, 2023, when Hamas, always should really kind of put Hamas/Iran, or really Iran/Hamas, because they're the ones that funded it. They're the ones that trained them to do that massacre in Israel on Simchat Torah during October 7th of 2023. So you have this going on, and then then on June 13th, after 60 days, President Trump said to Israel, "Do not do anything. Well, let's try the diplomatic end." And he did. He gave them 60 days to make a deal. 60 days to make a deal, and they were. This is what Islam does. Way back from Muhammad days, they would, if they weren't strong enough, they would kind of lead you on, saying, "Oh, we're going to do something, this, whatever, make peace and all that kind of stuff." So that's why I'm even the peace thing that's going on, I'm always skeptical on that. But it's just very interesting that for 60 days, they kind of led on the United States. They would talk, but they wouldn't talk directly. And then they would cancel certain ones. And now we don't meet now. And all that. So they just kind of hemmed and hawed. And then finally 60 days ended and 61 days began. And that 61 first day, I believe, was June 13th, when Israel did a preemptive strike against Iran, and really basically cut their wings. They got rid of any air force they may have, which they didn't have a big air force, but they got rid of rocket launchers. They got rid of radar. So they were blind. They were blind. And so Israel had control over the skies, day or night. It didn't really matter at that point. And that lasted for a while. I mean, that lasted for, until, after the 61 days, and then President Trump said that he would make a decision within 2 weeks. Well, 3 days later, or whatever it was, 2 or 3 days later, the bunker bombs set sail. 13 of them, I think. There was 14 on it. I keep on hearing that they only used 13, but hey, that's a lot of bunker bombs, bunker buster bombs, and went after the nuclear sites. 3 of them. Fordo was the big one. That was the one that was under the mountain and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just looking at this, and then I look at the reaction. That was on Saturday, this past Saturday night. That's when it happened. And oh my goodness, the media. Oh my goodness, the Democrats. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I'm saying, well, we did it. I didn't know if I was really for it or against it, but I'm obviously I want to put down the enemy. But when it happened, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. But then all these prognosticators in the media, in the Democrats, started saying, oh my goodness, we're going to be in a prolonged war. He promised that he wasn't going to get us into prolonged wars and World War III, because then every other country in the region is going to be coming up against us, and blah 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 blah. I mean, noise, right? And that's the media, that's the Democrats. And what happened? China made its little statement, but it was it was nothing big. It was more like something that had been written before, just in case something like this happened, and they pushed the button, same to send it out to on X or wherever. Same thing with Russia. I mean, I don't think North Korea said anything. Egypt had a little blurb. Saudi Arabia had a little blurb, and it was just, shouldn't have done that. Let's seek peace, type of thing, or whatever it was. I mean, it's nothing that was saying, nothing bellicose. Nothing bellicose was happening from the comments I was hearing. I mean, I heard a lot of bellicose statements from the far left, but you know something? The far left is basically most of the Democrats. It is. I mean, they're lock, stock, and barrel in whatever they vote on. Very few. I mean, except for now, John Fetterman seems to be the senator in Pennsylvania, which I didn't know what to expect from him. He seems to be the biggest pro-Israel, anti-Semitism person out there. He's going against his own party's thing, so that's kind of cool, to see that. But that's one out of, what do you have? You have 214 or something in the Congress, and 47 senators, that are Democrats. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting to see what's going on. They were talking about. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, but
No.
they're talking about the oil prices are going to go now to $80 to $120 a barrel. It's gonna the world's market, the America and the world market is going to crash, and all these things that I was hearing, and I'm like, I'm listening to them, because the shows that news shows that we watch shows a lot of these little clips on what people are saying on the other networks, which we never watch. And it was amazing just to see how ignorant these people are, or at least hold back for a couple of minutes, because there was even calls on impeachment. Again, that's when in doubt, bring out the impeachment. Let's impeach him. So much so that Al Green, you remember Al Green with the cane, and in the State of the Union. Well, it's not a State of the Union, but it is a State of the Union. But It doesn't officially become one until next year, because he hasn't been in there for a year. So, he's out there with the cane and threatening and this and that and the other thing and wanting impeachment and all this crap. Well, he did it again. This time, 100 of his Congress Democrats voted against him. Now, I don't know why they did that, but they did. So that's cool. And we see in that. But, so what is going on here? Because there's a lot of talk in the I'll just, for a better word, Christian realm, messianic realm, about the end days, about Gog and Magog. I'm not an eschatologist, and don't even try to be one, because it's complicated. You know what my eschatology is. Yah will do it when He wants to do it in His time. That's so I'm not going to be all up in arms about, there's rumors of wars going on. There's this and that and all this kind of. We've heard that. We've been, I've been a strong Christian, if you will, since the 80s. You before that, you've been pretty much all your life, but I really started, learning more about that. We've had teachers, a pastor and a teacher that used to like to do eschatology stuff, and we brought in people, and evangelists and prophets and this and that and the other thing to talk about those things, and it was interesting. It was very interesting. I remember one guy, he did this whole eschatology thing on the book of Revelation. Now that's tough to do. And in hindsight, he was wrong about a lot of it. But, who knew then? We just, kind of went along, and I even think we bought did we buy the tape set? Yeah, I think we did buy the tape set. It was cassette tapes back then. I have no idea where it is. We probably burned it, but that's okay. So what does Yah say about Israel? This is what I really kind of want to focus on. This is more important to me. The promises to Abraham, much more interesting to me than is this the Gog Magog war? Is the Gog and Magog war in Ezekiel the same as the one in Revelation? Are they different? Are the two Gog Magog wars? Don't ask me, but seems like there's two. But I'm just saying that's just me. I asked somebody that one time, and they say I do not do eschatology. I said, okay. I was just trying to bring up a conversation. No, that's okay. I can appreciate that. Especially the more and more I get into it, the more and more I'm like, Yahweh will do it in His timing, not ours. I mean, it says that, what is it, in Matthew the 24, that no one knows the day or the hour of the coming of the Son of Man, which culminates in this whole thing with the Gog Magog and Armageddon and the whole 9 yards. Not even the Son. Yeshua said that. Not even Himself knows it. The Father only. Boy, talk about not having any leaks. We talk about leaks in the government. There's no leaks in heaven. I'm telling you. Nope. The Father knows, and He's got it tight to His chest. He's not interested in revealing it, not even to His Son. That's amazing to me. That's amazing. But anyway, so what is the promises to Abraham? And this is where I want you to really jump in and start to talk about some of these things, because it says the first part of God's promise to Abraham was land. We always talk about that, the inheritance. Israel, the land of Israel, is our inheritance. Because again, we need to understand when we talk about what does Yah say about Israel, we have to again completely understand that we are part of the Commonwealth of Israel. That does not mean that we have replaced Israel. Totally a different topic. That is erroneous teaching. If someone says the church has become the new Israel and the old Israel has fallen out of favor with Yah, and it's now the church, no, don't go there. Don't even. Run from that person. If you hear that from somebody, run far away. If you know the scriptures and you can kind of try to reason, go ahead. And if you're really firm in the belief that Israel is all of us, both Yehuda, Ephraim, the strangers that have come in and adhere to the teachings of the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because remember, the path of Messiah goes through Israel. Starting with Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. And then you have the 12 tribes. One of those tribes, the fourth one, was Yehuda. And then became the kingdom of Yehuda. And there in that genealogy lied the Messiah of Israel. So if we're not part of Israel, we're not part of the Messiah. Galatians says, if you are Abraham's seed, can you look that up? Galatians 3:29. I don't want to quote it wrong. Galatians 3:29, because it is about the land. It's about what Abraham was promised, and it's in the it repeats in Genesis 15 verses 18 through 21 and 17 verse 8. Also in and if you want to read about the boundaries of Israel, Exodus 23 verses 28 through 31 describes the boundary of the land extending from the Red Sea to the wilderness of the Euphrates River down to the Nile, and it is just a huge piece of land. Now, Israel is not in all of that land. That's part of Egypt and part of I think Lebanon and part of Iraq and going down to Saudi Arabia. So it's a big piece of land. Do you have that now? 3:29.
Yeah, it says, and if you are of Messiah, then you are seed of Abraham.
Then you are the seed of Abraham.
And heirs according to the promise.
So if we are in Messiah, let's say it again.
And if you are of Messiah, then you are seed of Abraham and heirs according to promise.
Amen. And these are the promises that we're talking about. The land being number one on the list. Then Elohim promises to make Abraham a nation, which is in again Genesis, and repeats it in Genesis 17:4. These are the promises that the Father has given Israel. Again, we are part of the commonwealth of Israel. Read Romans 11. Read, I think it's Ephesians 2. The one new man, the two have become one. Read the two sticks in Ezekiel. The stick of Yehuda, the stick of Ephraim, becoming one in Yah's hand. It's so important that we understand who we are, our identity. We have been given and taught a lie throughout our, because most of us, grew up in the Christian church. I grew up as a Catholic, and then as I don't even know what it was, a Baptist, and then became a Pentecostal, if you will. I just use that term. I don't think we use that term exactly. It's more like a charismatic. Same thing. So no longer are we Pentecostal, but we are more Shavuoto. How's that?
Hmm.
That's a. I heard Daniel Buchan say that one time, that we're a Shavuoto. you know, um, and I would identify more with that than most of the titles that we get, and I don't even really like titles, but I thought I had some scriptures down of these things because those are kind of cool to read. But I mean, I think you understand. Again, read Genesis from 12 and about the promises. Um, also the third thing is Yahweh promises to bless and protect. God promised to bless those nations who bless Israel. Anyone who despises, demeans, or seeks to harm Israel will be cursed by God Himself. And you see this through a lot of the different scriptures, and you see it in today's news. You see what's going on. Hamas pretty much gone. Hezbollah pretty much gone. Iran pretty much gone. Again, they may be rumblings. They may be things that are going on. Iran is formerly Persia. We remember what took place in Persia during the time of Esther, Hadassah. And when the Haman rose up and plotted to kill all the Jews that were in the 127 provinces of the Medo-Persian Empire. And there was two people that stood up, Mordecai and Hadassah, that brought this in, but they had to fight for themselves, with the king's decree at the end. And most of the ones that were the enemies of the Jews they ran away, and a lot of them were killed. And so you see what's going on when the enemies of Israel rise up. Israel rises up with the support of the Elohim of Israel, Yahweh Zavaot, the Lord of hosts, who has brought forth His judgment on those nations. And that's what happens. And then, and I maybe want to read this one a little bit. I don't know if I can read it all, but God will punish the sins of anti-Semitism, and that is like one of the big things today. We see that a lot going on around the nation, around the world, and let me see if I can. No, that's not the one. Oh, there it is. Ezekiel, what did I say? 25. Let's see if I don't have the scriptures actually down there. This is a good one. The prophecy against Edom, and that's who I believe are the ones that are in Gaza, especially Edomites from the seed of Esav. And so it says, verse 12, thus says the Master Yahweh, because of what Edom, which is Edom, if you read it from in Genesis, it says, when it says Edom, and it says Edom is Esau, or, and it might say Esau, and it says Esau is Edom, and it repeats that a few times in the book of Genesis. So because of what Edom has done against the house of Yehudah by taking vengeance, so that they became very guilty, and they have taken vengeance on them. Therefore, thus says the Master Yahweh, I will stretch out my hand against Edom, and I shall cut off man and beast from it and lay it waste. But does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? From Teman, even to Dedan, they shall fall by the sword. And I shall lay my vengeance on Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to my displeasure and according to my wrath. so they shall know my vengeance, declares the master. So you see all this kind of things happening. You see it all happening today. And Israel is standing and is standing, the state of Israel is standing and standing strong. I hope and pray the people Israel that are scattered throughout the world, including us, including you, that we are strong in the power of His Spirit, that we would not drop back, but we would press forward and support our brothers and sisters that are living in the state of Israel, our brothers and sisters Yehuda that are living in the state of New York, and especially New York City, and all over the place, because anti-Semitism is rising up. They voted in, and can you imagine this? New York City, they voted in a total socialist, communist, Islamic, anti-Semitic person that will, if he does get in totally, I mean, he's the Democrat, no, he's the Democrat nominee, and he will destroy New York as we know it. I mean, it's pretty bad now, but it's going to get a whole lot worse if he gets to implement his policies, what he's been talking about. So pray for New York, pray for this nation, pray for President Trump, pray for his cabinet, pray for Benjamin Netanyahu, his cabinet, and the IDF soldiers and our soldiers that are implementing these things with great success. So what are your thoughts, AviGayle? I mean, in terms of the scriptures, in terms of what we need to do and how we need to address this kind of thing?
Well, I mean, the more you study the scriptures, the more you come to understanding regarding the Messiah. If we have to have faith has to be a part of this journey, and with everything that's going on in the world, we have to have faith in Messiah.
I love that.
And so it's, because you read the scriptures and there's a lot of information on walking by faith. And so, it's even like with the song, James, Yahweh sings over us. That's a song of faith. That's a song of, it's a song of encouragement, but it's a song of faith when it says Yahweh sings over us. And when I first saw that scripture, I said, wow, it's something that you want it to be a part of us. It's like this, have no other gods before you. But to have Yahweh say, I sing over you, it's one of those areas of faith. Mm-hmm. And if we're not walking by faith, if we're not walking by the Spirit, we're going to get caught up in a lot of different types of reasoning. Because I was just reading through Galatians, and I was saying, wow, Galatians really stresses on faith. It really stresses on faith. And it's very interesting. I mean, we could have a real good debate in Galatians about if you are, and then verse 29, and if you are of Messiah, then you are seed of Abraham and heirs according to the promise. So that's interesting, because where does that come from? Where do you get that? When you read that, where does it come from? Where does the understanding come from? It comes from faith. It comes from believing and trusting in the Creator of heaven and earth. And this journey is really an act of faith. Mm. And why do I say that? Because even in Galatians, it talks about if you being Judah, for example, okay, if we're Judah, if we are from the tribe of Judah, The good news, I said, if Kepha before them, if you, being Judah, live as the nation and not as the Yehudim, why do you compel nations to live as Yehudim? So it's interesting because even Judah, our brothers and sisters, Judah, you never hear them compel us to live by Judah. You know, you don't hear that.
Right.
You never hear them, you know, and so if you,
It's an interesting verse.
But if you tell people, you know, I read the Torah, I read Exodus 21 through 20 every day, and I believe it's divine words. See, this is where I think faith comes in. If the Father has given us the revelation on it, if He gives us revelation on something, that revelation does exactly what it says. It gives us revelation on the Father.
Mm.
It gives us revelation on faith. It gives us revelation so that we will continue to pursue this journey of faith. And so Judah, for example, let's talk about Judah. Judah, you know, our oldest brother. What was given to Judah as the oldest brother?
The Torah.
The Torah. So and that was his responsibility, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So but when you know, so if you or if we weren't raised in an environment of Judah, then we are raised in an environment of what would you call it? I just said it a little while ago. Faith.
Yeah, faith. Right, exactly.
Okay, because the promise, because it goes back to Galatians, and you shall, and if you are of Messiah, then you are the seed of Abraham, and heirs according to promise. Because now, who was Abraham? Abraham was from the Chaldeans.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't from Judah.
No.
And he's Father Abraham.
Exactly. He's the first Hebrew.
Yeah. So he is the Yahweh sings over us, you know, and Yahweh sings over us to give us revelation.
Right.
And I don't think it was a coincidence that the Father brought that song up to me today, and because we have to walk by faith.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be very cognizant of what we are believing and who we are trusting.
Right.
Because there's when I hear what's going on in the world today, what just transpired in the United States of America today, it was pretty disturbing concerning what was transpiring in an election in New York. And so we have to have a solid revelation on who we are, who we're serving, what is our responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have that understanding. You know, we have to have that understanding, because if not, we're going to be pulled in all different directions, and we're going to be pulled in all different directions.
Right.
Because there's things happening now, and I'm gonna just use the United States of America as an example right now. That I have never seen a spiritual battle surface like it has lately. I've always heard about it. You know, I've heard about things that were going on in the deep state type thing, you know, but now everything is really surfacing. Everything is being exposed. It's like everything is being exposed. The truth, the faith is being exposed in those who have faith and have the truth in their hearts. But the flip coin, the flip side of the coin is people who have an agenda. They have an agenda to destroy the United States of America. They have an agenda to destroy Israel. They have an agenda to destroy faith in our Redeemer, Yeshua, our Messiah. To destroy that faith in what we have know in our heart of hearts. So we're in a spiritual battle.
We are in a spiritual
I mean,
battle.
it's evident that we are in a spiritual battle right now. And so what we have to do is we have to settle within our own hearts who we are, who we're following. Again, Father Abraham, he is the one that solidified the faith of Elohim for all of us. Father Abraham. Again, if we go back, I love that you brought this up. Galatians 3, verse 29. And if you are Messiah, if you are of Messiah, then you are the seed of Abraham and heirs according to promise. So that's the key. That to me, you need to just let that selah in your own heart, because we're heirs according to promise. Who gave us the promise? The creator of heaven and earth. Who is Father Abraham? Father Abraham is, he had many sons. Father Abraham walked by faith. Father Abraham was the one that gave the first promised child, Isaac. The first promised child, Isaac.
Exactly.
The child of promise. I mean, we gotta let that get into our hearts, and know what that is. What is that promised child, Isaac? It's a seed. It's a seed that came from Abraham into Sarah. It came from Abraham into Sarah, James. And I mean, this is not something that is superficial. It was a fact, and it happened. So I really believe, and I'm talking to me, and I'm talking to anyone that wants to listen too, is that, again, regarding my trust is in you, Father. My trust is in you, Father. And I'm thankful that you are with me, that I will not lean to my own understanding, but I will stay connected to the promise. The promise that was given to us.
That's right.
That's the key. There's a promise that was given to us.
That's right.
In the scriptures. And very, very important to hold on to that promise, and to identify with who we are. And because right now there's so much going on in the quote unquote world. But as I've said many times, we have to look at ourselves as the kingdom. Abraham says, I'm going for a place, what? I'm in search of what? When he's
a city
that is built by who? Elohim. So that's the kingdom. Yeah. It's not the world system. He says, I'm going for a place that was built by the creator of heaven and earth.
And that's exactly what, boy, I'm just glad you're saying all these things, because it just kind of ties in a lot of different things. Because you mentioned about in Galatians, about Peter Paul rebuking Peter for, when you're with the Gentiles, you're one way, now with the Yehudim, you're another way, what's going on, type of thing. Well, it's interesting because, again, remember now, it's during the exile of the Babylonian exile, the Jews, pretty much clung together, and the Yehudim, clung together, and that's where the Talmud came from, and all that kind of thing. And then because they had no temple, there was no temple. They had to rely on certain things, to try to put a fence around Torah. And then when that happens, the egos and the power struggles and all that kind of stuff, one group to another group, and eventually the Pharisees basically won out in terms of who was, and you had the Sadducees, you had the Essenes, and a bunch of other ones that are, just not even really mentioned anymore. But it's interesting because what happens is, when we think about the religious system of the day, we think that's the way the whole thing was, and it was wrong, it was bad. It's interesting because I don't see that.
No.
I don't see that because of what Yeshua said when he was rebuking the Pharisees
Right.
and the Sadducees. And he said to him in Matthew 23, verse 3, he says, therefore, let's go to 2. He's talking to the crowds and to the taught ones, and I'm sure the Pharisees and the scribes and everybody else was hearing. He says, Yeshua spoke to the crowds and to the taught ones, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on the seat of Moshe. Now, that's kind of high praise. He sits on the seat of Moshe. Therefore, whatever they say to you to guard and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do. So there's the key.
And this is the key. Okay, so I'm glad that you read that, because he is the I believe this is the catalyst that brings us to that place of who we are and what's our responsibility. There, again, there's a kingdom, there's a king, and there's a kingdom. And there's a responsibility according to what? According to the covenant. According to the covenant that was given to us.
Mm-hmm.
That covenant, to me, that's one of those areas that is very, very significant on this journey. The covenant. Why is that covenant so very, very important? I believe the main reason why that covenant is so significant, because it touches base with all humanity. And this is what the one verse that's in Exodus 20 that's very, very significant. The first verse that carries a lot of clout. Have no other gods before me. This is where mankind gets messed up. They allow other gods to come into their heart, into their habits. They allow other gods. When it says right there in that covenant, that's why the covenant was so valuable for all of us. Because the first, very, very significant, they're all significant. But the main thing is, I delivered you out of Mitzrayim.
Right.
And that's pointing, and I'm bringing you to the kingdom. That's the key. Don't get hung up on the world system. There's a kingdom. Don't get hung up on the world system. You want to be a part of, there is a king and he has a kingdom. And he said, I have no other gods before me. That to me is, because we can get caught up. I mean, we were hearing, you're actually dissecting something during this teaching here. The dissection has to do with narrowing down what our responsibility is and who we are.
Yeah. And our identity.
We have to do that. Yeah, we have to do that. Yeah,
we do. It's very, very important. Interesting. And I just want to answer Barbetta's question that he had up there somewhere about Persia and Antiochus, the whatever Epiphanes. No, that was actually the country that conquered Persia, Media Persia, which was the Greeks, Alexander the Great, and then out of that came Antiochus Epiphanes. So I just wanted for Hanukkah.
Yeah.
With the Maccabees.
Yeah.
Maccabees.
But
So
the key is this too. Do what Moses says. Okay. The bottom line is this. I mean, Moses definitely had a major impact on the covenant. He had a major impact on the covenant, without a doubt. And that's where Exodus 20 comes in. Moses had because he had a divine relationship. He had the burning bush. He had a divine relationship with the creator of heaven and earth. He had the burning bush. He had one-on-one relationship with the creator of heaven and earth. And he's the one, him as well as the lawgiver, which is Yeshua, they're the ones that brought forth the covenant. That's the key, the covenant. We have to understand the covenant, which is, again, the first part of, if you turn to Exodus 20, and I read it, I believe I read it for yesterday's, maybe it was yesterday's prayer time. But if you look at Exodus 20, it's supernatural. It's supernatural, and it's something that we can use as making decisions. Exodus 20, 1 through 20, because we're talking about the king and the kingdom, and we're talking about knowing, as James says, the identity. Exodus 20 says, and Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth.
Amen.
You do not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving commitment to thousands to those who love me and guard my instructions. And it goes on. But that to me, because there's so much in the scriptures, there's so many things in the scriptures. But the key is this. Father Abraham,
Yes,
he walked by faith.
big time.
Father Abraham walked by faith. And the key is this, that we have to walk by faith, and we're not of this. We're in the world, but we're not of the world. We are being prepared for the kingdom. His kingdom come, his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. When Yeshua returns, there'll be a kingdom. So we have to stay focused on that.
We do. And we just have to really understand the word. I mean, and I like it because Bob Betta said in the Hebrew Matthew from the King Jimmy, I like that, King Jimmy. It says, do what Moses says. And that's what it is. I mean, when he says, do what they say, what they tell you to do what they tell you to do, meaning what they tell you to do from the Torah. Because they read from the Torah, they knew the Torah, these scribes and these Pharisees. They just didn't do what they were supposed to do. Plus, they had that fence around the Torah, that was, probably had very, very good intentions, but because of it, basically a homeless man that just got healed, rolled up his mat according to what Yeshua told him to do, and the Pharisees got on his case. You can't do that. It's Sabbath. You can't carry your bed mat around. I mean, and I love what Yeshua says about these things. You heard that it was said of old. You heard that it was said, but I say to you, and he gives you Torah in instruction on that. He raises the bar a lot of times on Torah.
But one thing about what Bob is saying, it's from the Hebrew. It's from the Hebrew instruction. It's
the Hebrew, because they found a manuscript they believe that was not a Greek manuscript, but actual Hebrew
Yeah. So
manuscript.
it's, if you look
Because
at
I believe the whole Bible was written in Hebrew. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
Hebrew, Bob, because if you read
that's
from,
what he said.
yeah, so it was from
'Cause
Moses.
it's the Hebrew Matthew.
So it was the Greeks, he
No.
said.
No. But this is. Remember, when you do these things, all the answers come in one time. If no one else says anything,
Okay.
because that was about he asked about was it the Persians with Antiochus Epiphanes?
See. Okay.
No, that was the Greeks.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. No.
Because the bottom line is this, and people get complicated by what's being read, what's being written, and what is read, and it can be really broken down in a way that we can be on the right track. We can be on the straight and narrow track. Again, the covenant, which is Exodus 20, 1-20, is very, very significant.
Yes.
And if you really read it slowly, don't worship other gods.
Right.
That's where a big problem comes in with the human race. The human race goes after other gods instead of worshiping the true and the creator of heaven and earth, or our Redeemer, Yeshua, our Messiah. And that's where the stumbling comes in. Right now, we have people who are worshiping other gods. Not everybody. There's people that are still on the straight and narrow, but it takes a discipline.
It does.
And there's you know what's going on. I mean, you know what's happening. I mean, with everything that's going on in this world, and because of the media and all these things that are in people's faces.
Exactly. And if you want to learn about discipline, hang with AviGayle for a day. You'll learn discipline. You may be under the table a few times, but hey. No.
I'm telling you, it's just a matter of I am more and more simplifying, and simplifying the journey.
Yes.
Because the world is complicating things.
Exactly.
The world is complicating and serving other gods.
Amen. But I can't believe that our time is just about gone. That was fun. Thank you. That was good. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too. I didn't know. And I'm thankful.
Don't worry. I never know either. So it's just
I sit back I say, okay, where's James going on this? And then it's like, then things open up. Things just open up.
Okay, we gotta go.
Okay. Easy does it.
Shalom, everyone. Don't forget.
Drink some water.
Sabbath.
Drink some water. Drink some water.
I gotta go.
Okay.
All right. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, baby. Love you all.
If you missed today's show, or want to watch it again, or want to tell someone where they can watch this episode, go to lambnetwork.tv, where you will find this show and all the other live Lamb show archives in the on-demand section of the website. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to tell someone about the Messianic Lamb Network.
To possess the land. Toda Rahaba, my heart is thankful to you.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussions, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the lambnetwork.tv website. I'm James O'Hare, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Rahaba, my heart is thankful to you, Abba.